Professional Fighters League in South Florida, Seminole Rock Hotel and Casino with Lilian Garcia. PFL ring announcer, finally get to meet Lilian. This is awesome.
This is so awesome. No more Zoom, no more phone. This is in person. I love it.
Oh my gosh. Lilian, first of all, PFL throughout the month of August, they're doing their playoffs, their semifinals here in South Florida.
Yes.
What are your thoughts of just being down? You've been here before in South Florida with WWE and whatever other events.
Yeah.
But what is it like being in South Florida?
You know what? These days I don't take anything for granted at all. It is just really great to be out of the house. It's really great to be back in action. I was so happy when the 2021 season started, and here we are in the playoffs, and it's just going so excitingly well. It's just so much fun with all of these fighters and to see their journey and follow them.
Today was the kickoff where we had weigh-ins for the
Yes.
first night of action.
Yes.
What is it like doing that? Because you're introducing all the fighters on the prelims and then the main semifinal, main card as
Yeah.
well. What is it like for you just to be involved with that part of it?
I actually like doing the weigh-ins, especially because we've been off for like a whole month. And so doing the weigh-ins tonight, I realized I'm like, wow, it's like you start getting a little bit of that, rust, and you're like, okay, got to shake this off. And so it helps me to do the weigh-ins. I love it. It gets me excited and fired up for the next evening and the playoffs to begin.
Now, when you're getting ready for something like that, how much study goes into these names? Because let me tell you something,
Yeah.
Magomed, that's all I could say. If I was doing it, I would just announce his first name, not even try the last name.
You can repeat it. Magomed, Karamov. That's it.
That's why you're the pro. That's why you're the professional.
I really study hard, though, on the names and the pronunciations because, look, it's somebody's name. I think it's very important to care enough to say it properly. And I do my absolute best. Now, do I get it 100% right every time? No, because there are some inflections that they have that even, a Russian fighter or something, they might pronounce it a little different. But what I love is the fact that with my Spanish background, when I say the name of a Brazilian or Spaniard or Puerto Rican or anything like that, I can say it with, the roll of the tongue and can give it that flair.
You have the inflection in the R's. You can
Yes.
you can roll those R's. Oh my God, I can never do that in Spanish class. I took Spanish only for 3 years. I still can't roll my R's. Oh my God, it's so cool. But hey, what do you like about PFL and just the action? It's a different style because it's a regular season and a playoff format
Yes.
for MMA, which is totally different.
Exciting. It's so exciting. That's the thing, is that I'm a big person that I love to follow some like a fighter's journey. And that's what this gives an opportunity to do, just that. You can follow their journey from the regular season into the playoffs and into the championship. And to see a fighter fight 4 times in the span of April to October is unheard of in MMA. So that's what you start really finding out what that fighter, like what is deep inside of them, what's really driving them, how can they get through those hurdles and the obstacles. And that's the kind of stories that I love, and that's the kind of action that I tie in with whatever they're doing in the cage. It's also their story behind it and how they've prepped for it.
It's interesting you mention the stories behind it because whether it was through your podcast
Yeah.
or doing a show for PFL on PFL YouTube, that's something you did. You
Yes.
would interview fighters
Yes.
and WWE superstars
Right.
and others and talk about their lives and their journeys.
Yep.
What made it passionate for you to do that side of it?
When I started working at WWE, I think it was around 5 years into it, and getting to know the female locker, in the female locker room, getting to know the females that I worked with, and hearing their journey and what they'd gone through, I was like, man, if anybody heard this, if they knew it, I think the fans would even attach themselves more to you as a person and could cheer for you. And so that gave me the idea when I left WWE in 2016. I decided to do Chasing Glory, and man, what came out of that, incredible. It just got added on Peacock, which is great. I'm so excited to be part of the NBC world and that. And and then doing Prep Point with PFL and getting to interview the fighters that we've seen this season. I got to interview them before they stepped into the cage here in 2021. And so when I got to watch them fight, I knew their backstory from those interviews, and it made me care about their fight even more.
One of those fighters is Kayla Harrison,
Yes.
who trains in South Florida at American Top Team. And Kayla has just a tremendous story. Olympic gold medalist twice in judo, first ever for Team USA in judo, and just her Fearless Foundation, raising her niece and nephew, and a lot of stories there with Kayla, and an outstanding fighter. Did you get to interview Kayla, and what are your thoughts of Kayla?
So I haven't interviewed her for Chasing Glory or Prep Point, but I got to spend some time with her because I took her backstage to a WWE event, and she got to meet everyone. I got her introduced to Stone Cold Steve Austin and Kurt Angle and AJ Styles, and the list goes on, and she was just like, this is crazy. We really had a great time, and just, yeah, she even got to hold the belts. She held the belt that Brock Lesnar was holding, and she held, at the time, Ronda Rousey was our champion. She was holding the women's championship belt. So it was a really cool experience with her, and for me to actually get to know her a little bit more.
Oh, Lilian, what do you think about her transitioning someday to professional wrestling sports entertainment?
So it's funny because we were sitting there backstage at WWE, and she's holding these belts, and then she's the one that said, I don't know if I can handle that schedule. And of course, now with her being a mom, it's a whole different animal, right? It's 300 plus dates a year on the road. So I think for her, MMA is great.
How did you do it?
How did I do it? I know. Oh, after 15 years, I was like, wow, I can't handle this anymore. It does take it out of you, but you know how I did it? I did it because A, I love to travel. B, I love the fans. I love to meet all the fans from around the world. And C, I actually genuinely love the people I work with. So that made it easy to go to work and hang out with them.
We've talked about ring announcing.
And I love the job of ring announcing as well. I mean, that's very key. And you were going to say, we talked about ring announcing. I
was going to go about ring announcing because it's such a different dynamic when you're ring announcing for WWE, and let's say you're ring announcing for PFL MMA. WWE, it's a lot more, you're on the spot. It's you, it's just you, and you're flying on the seat of your pants sometimes with that and all. But you've talked to this before. How does that make you a better ring announcer?
Well, what the training ground that I got at WWE that was really great was the fact that they didn't allow me to use any cue cards from day one. And so that really started getting my training into being like, wow, I got to memorize, or just, improvise. And so that really helped. And the fact that we were on live TV every single week. I mean, being live TV, it's one shot, and that's it. And there were a lot of rules, like you said, a lot of different rules that you had to say and all. But MMA also has presented its own challenges to me, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of stats with these guys. No wonder you hold a cue card for this. But the hours that I spend in putting those cards together, but I will say too, the team that I have. I mean, Greg Savage right now is working with me. I love Greg, he's great. I've got Josh Fowler that also helps me out. Ed Lima. I mean, the team here at PFL has set me up to win in this transition. And that was the thing when I said, look, I'll take this job on, but I need some help and guidance because I want to do right by the fighters and I want to do right by the MMA community. I want to be able to transition and give them a ring announcer that makes them fired up for the fight and not them having to pay attention like, who is this? She's awful. I don't want that. I don't want that for the fighters. I don't want that for them. So that's what I really want to thank the PFL for setting me up.
When you first started with PFL, how was that? How was the interaction with the fans? And were you pleasantly surprised? Not that you did a good job, but that the fans took to you in that element. Because MMA is a different fan base than WWE fan base.
Yes. I think that they genuinely saw from the get-go that I respect the sport. And I really do believe that when people see that, when they see that you respect the sport, you respect the fighters, you respect the organization, the community, then they're willing to go ahead and give you a shot. And then I studied really, really hard. And I put my heart into this. I really care. I don't want the fighters to be in the cage nervous. I want the fighters to be in the cage fired up. I want them to be like, when they're hearing their names and their stats and all of them, be like, that's right, that's who I am, let me fire it, because then they're going to do their best, right? So that's why I think ring announcing is so important, because you're doing these introductions that set the tone from the beginning. And I get chills myself when I'm in there. It's funny, I'll go sit down, almost every single fight, I'll sit down and I'll tell Greg, I'm like, look at my hand, shaking. I'll be like this, and it's not from nerves. it's from everything, all the energy that I've put into that announcement.
When you're practicing, do you have a full-length mirror?
When I practice, I don't. I sometimes I'm just sitting in my bed just saying it out loud. I don't really do it in front of the mirror anymore. I do remember that there was a time that I did it in front of the mirror, but now I kind of do it not in the mirror and pretend like there's an audience in front of me. And so I'm just like this, but I'll be sitting in the bed just doing something like that. But it helps me with learning the inflections of where to put, where you're saying a stat of somebody's record, or, but with 10 knockouts, you really start practicing what helps, and the inflections are so important.
It's funny to me too, because if somebody's not knowing what you do, and let's say you're in a hotel or if you're backstage at an event.
And they see me.
Yes!
And they just see the mannerisms, right? And they're like, what the hell?
That is so cool, though.
I hope they go, wow, she's into it. She likes what she's doing.
Yes. And do it so well. A few more questions. So, being that you're in South Florida and we're at the Seminole Hotel and Casino.
Yes.
Have you ever played the machines? Have you ever played poker? Have you ever done blackjack? Has Lilian Garcia ever tried any of the types
craps, baby. I love craps. So, man.
7-Eleven.
Oh, man.
7-Eleven.
No, seriously, I love craps. My dad got me into it. I remember watching him because he was just so into it. And I was like, what is this game? And I'd be like, I don't understand it. And I never quite understood it when Dad was playing. But now, being with this team, they kind of like to gamble. Josh Fowler. I will give it out to Josh Fowler, who taught me how to play. So
red or black? Red or odd or even?
Actually, I don't even do the colors. But I will say, I don't know what it is, but I've been able to roll for a really long time and have some great, runs.
Yes, Lilian Garcia. This is a harder question, but I'm going to ask it. It's a top of the head question.
Yes.
PFL, MMA, and WWE. Not so much the person, but is there a couple of names that come to mind that you always just enjoyed saying that name because of the way you said it? It doesn't have to be the top star per se,
right.
but just something like, oh wow, I really feel good about saying that name and putting it out
I always loved timing it as well. Triple H was always a fun one. It's almost like I got to practice and put into practice all the diaphragm work that I did singing, right? Because it's all from my singing that I do all my announcing. So it's that H, H, and it comes out from right here. I can't even do it right now because I'm sitting down, but I love doing Triple H. RVD was always fun because we timed it out, and he would look at me and I'd look at him, and I'd make sure that he was in the ring so that when he was in there, he could be doing the RVD while I was saying it. And sometimes he'd do it right at me, so that was fun. Who doesn't love to introduce The Rock and Stone Cold? That's just a pop that you get from the crowd that it's like,
I'll tell you one for me. That's John Cena.
Oh, Cena.
I used to always, yes, I always love it. You always say it was like, it wasn't just John Cena. It was John Cena. Right,
that was always a fun one.
That was a good one too. And it's interesting you said this because I didn't even think of this, that it's good to talk to the superstars because when they're doing the ring entrance, which is so important.
Yes.
Getting that timing down.
Yeah.
So you find yourself in the backstage talking to them about that or not too much.
It's so funny because that was the thing. So Rob would start coming out, and then I remember one time that it just so happened the timing happened where he was in the ring and I said RVD and he's next to me and we get along so great, right? So he's playing off. And then the next time I remember when they cued me to go, it was too soon, I felt, because then all of a sudden he's rolling in when I'm doing the RVD. So the following time was like, okay, this is a little too soon, but I'm going to drag it out before his name. And that's what happened is I dragged it out before his name, and he made sure he got in, and then from then on, every single time. So it's one of those things, sometimes you don't talk it out, but then you realize, hey, this works for this guy, we need to make it work for this guy, and
That's so cool and so organic too in trying to do that. All right, we're up at the time, so we'll get done with this. Did you ever want to get in the ring to wrestle or MMA?
No. That's a simple one. You know what? I have found that I came from my world of singing. I got the opportunity to announce, which was a natural progression. I felt it goes hand in hand. It's both using the voice. But I never believed that by me learning a couple moves, I should call myself a wrestler. I had one match with Howard Finkel. God rest his soul. I'm undefeated.
You're undefeated,
but I'm
yes.
still, I can't call myself a wrestler just because I had one match. And I felt like to be respectful to the business, you need to choose, like, that would be my path then. It would be full-time, wrestler and putting it in there, or full-time MMA fighter. Like, it takes a full-time. I can't be, it's like a jack of all trades. So I think that singing and announcing is perfect to go together, and that's what, it's been incredible to make a career out of that.
It takes a lot of time, and you want to do it right. So
Yeah.
you're focusing, and your focus has
Yes.
been ring announcing and singing.
Yes.
Did you ever try or want to try commentary?
Oh, how funny. So that you say this. My second, I think it was my second interview or audition with WWE. I think it was my second one. And they put me in backstage or at the audition, and they put me as a commentator. And now at that time, I had watched as a kid with my dad. But then I actually stopped watching for many years when I went to school. So at that time, I didn't know DX. I didn't know these wrestlers. I didn't know X-Pac. I didn't know Road Dogg, any of that. And that's who was in the ring during that audition. And so they had me doing a play-by-play, and I was lost. And not only was I lost, I don't know the name of the wrestling moves. I don't know the storylines. I don't know the wrestling moves. And then they also have they have somebody talking in your ear the entire time, kind of preparing you. Like, yeah, we're going to go to a Geico commercial, or we're going to, so you got somebody talking to you. I'd never been through this before. I never even experienced it before. But I remember I took those headsets off and I went, you're not going to hire me for that job. So luckily I didn't get hired. But I did get to sit in with the Spanish commentators at a SummerSlam, and I got to do commentary with them, and that was really great and just an amazing experience, especially getting to do it in Spanish.
That is so awesome too. Well, Lilian, present your social media and anything else that you have that you want to present.
Yeah,
Do
sure.
that now, and we'll wrap this up.
All right, well, you guys can follow me at Lilian Garcia with one L in the middle. That's on Instagram and Twitter, Lilian Garcia official fan page on Facebook, or go to liliangarcia.com for all the information. So thank you guys, though, for all the support. Really love you.
Multi-talented.
You're
She
so
can do
cute.
anything. I think she can get in the ring. She can get in the MMA. She can get in the wrestling ring. She can do commentary too. She can do it all.
You're
Thank
so
you,
cute.
Lilian.
Thank you.